Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, do the Epstein emails actually show anything, or is this more fake news nonsense? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of communism. That's right. It looks like Katie Wilson is going to be the next mayor of Seattle. Why do I say that? Because a whole bunch of late-breaking ballots yesterday dropped in her favor, giving her an edge of a little bit more than 1,300 votes over Bruce Harrell. Now, mind you, you're still in recount territory, but that means that today's ballot drop will probably trend the same way. Now, if Katie Wilson becomes mayor of Seattle, she's going to enact her socialist craziness because there is literally no backstop. She now has a Seattle City Council where people like Dan Strauss, an empty suit who just goes, how do I stay in office? Okay, this week I'm going to be radical, and this week I'm going to be really, really moderate. And this week I'm going to be super, super pro defunding the police, and this week I really want more police. So people like that are going to swing to the socialist side of the Seattle City Council. You now aren't going to have a Sarah Nelson anymore. Then you're going to have a Seattle City Attorney Office where they're not going to prosecute crime anymore. And now you have a mayor who's going to be a far-left lunatic who doesn't even know what the hell she's doing. So who is she going to lean on for advice? She's been walking around with certain people anytime she goes out for campaign events. Aside from the Antifa security guards she brings with her, I kid you not, here's who endorsed her. If you want to know who's going to be running City Hall, Pramila Jayapal. Dressing her baby in Antifa onesies, Teresa Mosqueda. Supporting people who want to blow up buses, Rebecca Saldana. Jim McDermott, Tammy Morales, another socialist communist, former Seattle City Council member Mike O'Brien.
Another one.
Exactly. You know how bad things were under that guy? Shall we keep scrolling? Andrew Ashifu.
Another one.
If that name sounds familiar to you, that is the guy who falsely accused our friend Jonathan Cho of harassing him. And the case was dismissed. The case wasn't dismissed. This guy withdrew the case before it could even be heard in front of a judge because he knew he was cooked. You want to know who else is on this winners list? Crystal Marx. Appropriate last name. The communist who was the Kashama Sawant of Burien. Hugo Garcia. Another one of these mini commies who tried to destroy Burien. This is my favorite one. Housing advocate Andrew Grant Houston. Andrew Grant Houston ran for mayor last time in Seattle's race. Came in, fifth or sixth? This is the guy who ballot harvested and democracy voucher harvested hundreds of thousands of dollars in democracy vouchers. And then we found out what he spent it on was kind of sketchy. This is a guy who was a staff member for the Seattle City Council during COVID and decided to take that opportunity to not pay his own rent, even though he was still getting a salary. This is also a guy who was running for Seattle mayor, and we had questions about where he actually lived. Who do you think she's going to appoint to this office? Oh, Brett Hamill, radical lunatic activist in our neighborhood, pro-Hamasnik type. Holy cow. You look at this list. Yasmin Trudeau, another winner from the Washington State Legislature, who's in bed with Hamas. Former Seattle City Council member Lisa Herbold. Who do you think's going to be running City Hall with a train wreck disaster of endorsement lists like this? It's going to be an absolute nightmare. You know who's excited? Katie Wilson's husband. The guy who's the unemployed baker. Because he hears bread lines are coming back. Yeah, he's excited about it. Sorry. I did find out that Katie Wilson, you know how she's been living off her parents this whole time? Well, her parents are excited because finally they can stop paying her bills because we're going to be doing it. Yeah, oh, come on. Thank you. Though I think Katie Wilson's still going to be sharing their Netflix account. Yeah. It's ridiculous. A person who's never had a real job before, by the way, the socialists, they hate being reminded that Katie Wilson never had a real job before and that her husband doesn't work. You know why they hate being reminded of it? They try attacking me with that. Whenever you hit them with something and they go on the offense, Mike, I didn't even tell you this. You were busy doing audio before the show. Before the show today, I got an email from somebody who was saying that I don't have a real job. This is in addition to many of the comments. They called me some names I can't say on air either. Yes, I do really get some fun emails around here. And I find that very, very entertaining. Should I give you my resume aside from radio host? Do you really want that? Would you like all the jobs I've had? Because I guarantee you it's better than Katie Wilson's. Guarantee you. Yes. But that's what they freak out. They get really mad when you say that. They get super, super mad when you say that. But now you have people like Bernie Sanders saying, from coast to coast, the socialists won, and we should run everybody like they're socialists. That's what they really, really believe. I was on Fox News this morning, and while I was on Fox News, they were asking me this very same question about, is this some kind of socialist revolution? Here's what I told Fox and Friends first.
Okay, so broadening this out to the takeaway for the entire nation. Left-wing media, is sure to say this likely win by Wilson is a referendum against Donald Trump. Your response?
Seattle hasn't voted for Donald Trump in any of the elections he's run for. It hasn't even been close. So, no, they will choose the socialists. And let's not forget, we had socialists in office here for years. We are still living under their policies. One of the things Bruce Harrell didn't do was roll back any of those policies. We've still been in a socialist hellhole since 2018, 2019, 2020. Nothing has changed. And he only made things worse. More taxes, more crime. And people can paint whatever narrative they want nationally, but if you dig into these races and you see why people are unhappy, you look at Minneapolis for a second. You look at Omar Fatah, who ran for office, and people didn't vote for him because there was infighting in these Somalian tribes. It's not a socialist wave that's taking over. It's that Democrat Socialists of America know how to target these races where you have an unpopular incumbent or somebody unpopular who's running in these off-year elections, and that's what they go for, and that's what they're very successful at. The problem is you're going to see more of these mini Mamdanis running across the country because the Democrats think they have found the silver bullet to defeating Republicans.
And by the way, that guy Ari Hoffman knows what he's talking about on Fox News. Because here's the thing. They think, Bernie Sanders thinks, they have the magic formula. They don't. But do they? Here's the problem that Donald Trump has for 2026, and it's becoming more and more obvious. The younger generation does not know the dangers of socialism. They have been educated that socialism is this great mythical thing and would only work if we do it the right way. Yes, if you shove that fork in an outlet the right way, you won't shock yourself. Don't do that. Don't do that, children who are listening to the show in the backseat of your parents' cars. Do not put things into outlets. That is a good way to die. Don't do that. But they have been educated by their socialist college professors to tell them that, yes, this is going to work this time. And the problem is, as long as young people cannot afford to buy houses, as long as young people are not getting jobs out of college, never mind the fact that they majored in lesbian dance theory, when they're not getting the jobs and they can't afford the houses, they think the American dream is unattainable, and they buy into the left's talking points with, those rich people are only rich because they stole it from you. You did everything right. You aren't getting any money. You can't afford a house, so it's time to take it from those rich people. And people believe this. People on the right believe this too. They really do, from a different aspect. On the right, they're blaming other people for it, but they come to the same thing. There's the haves and the have-nots. It's getting more and more extreme. That's what the whole Groyper movement is about. This whole Nick Fuentes craziness. Oh, you don't have a girlfriend? Here's who to blame for it, the Jews. Oh, you can't afford a house? It's because the Jews are stealing your money. This is what young people are being indoctrinated with on one side or the other. And the problem is, if the economy, and there are signs that it's getting better, but there are signs that things are not actually moving the way we want them to move. If the economy is not getting better by 2026, Republicans are going to get blown out in those midterms. And who's on the other side? Not Democrats, socialists. They're already emboldened by these election results because the national narrative is, oh, Katie Wilson, the socialist, won in Seattle because of the socialist wave against Trump. The Seattle Times had one of the dumbest articles I have ever seen, that this is all backlash to Donald Trump. Well, let's look at this logically for a second. Anybody here run a good campaign? Mike, did anybody run a good campaign who was on the more moderate side?
How about no?
So let's look at this. Ann Davidson, terrible campaign. Plus her time in office, she decided to alienate everybody on the Republican side of the aisle by taking every position against Donald Trump. So she may have been good for public safety, but public safety ain't exactly getting better, and people are going to blame her for that. So this time, as opposed to running a far-left Antifa lunatic, they got a far-left person who doesn't come off as a crazy to run against Ann Davidson. And they were able to paint her as some kind of far-right wackadoodle, even though she's busy fighting against Trump. And Ann Davidson tried running to the left, and that was a failure. Sarah Nelson, where was her campaign? Where was her campaign? What, the last couple weeks of the campaign, you say, now I'm going to do radio interviews? Mike, we stopped asking for radio interviews, 2 years ago? Because the answer was always no, or they ghosted us. Every single time. And we were friendly. We endorsed her. We had her on the show a bunch of times when she was first trying to get elected. Bruce Harrell. Bruce Harrell right now has not posted on social media since Election Day. Katie Wilson, as ridiculous and terrible and horrible as her videos are, as cringeworthy as they are, she is encouraging people to get out there and cure their ballots. Bruce Harrell, MIA. From the people he has in his administration and the people he has on his campaign, I actually wonder if they're working for Katie Wilson. Right now, with a gap that small, the Harrell campaign should be out there telling people, make sure your ballot counted. Have you tracked your ballot? I haven't seen any efforts to do that whatsoever, except from Katie Wilson's campaign. Bruce Harrell ran the laziest, sloppiest campaign I think I've seen in the 5 years I've been on the radio, Mike. I don't think I've seen a campaign this bad, and that includes the Republicans who barely show up to run half the time. Bruce Harrell's campaign was how he was in office. Lazy, just assuming he's going to get it. I question if he even thought he was going to get reelected, if he even cares that he's not going to get reelected. No effort whatsoever. Katie Wilson, say what you will about her, at least she's out there hustling. She's out there hustling. Her team's out there hustling. All these people who want to get back into Seattle City Hall are hustling to get her elected. And when you have a vote this close, it is not a mandate, even though they're going to treat it as such. And here's something else. The other ones were blowouts. This one was close because people know that Katie Wilson is not up to the task, and they know how dangerous she can be. So they said, well, if it's left on left, here's something else. It wasn't like she was running against a Republican. Bruce Harrell, not a Republican, spent his whole time in office demonizing Donald Trump. Would you like to know when Bruce Harrell officially lost this election? The first day he took office. Because he didn't do any of the things he said he was going to do. Not a single one of them. The moment he knew he was in trouble was right before Christmas last year. Do you remember, Mike? We played this audio like 4 or 5 times. It was the Christmas tree lighting in downtown Seattle. And he came out there, and rather than talking about the holidays or anything else, he started rambling on about abortion, LGBTQ, all this other stuff, and the crowd was booing him during all that. Because you can never out-progressive a progressive, and they didn't like him already. I do love that some of the people on the left are saying, of course he lost. He's a Zionist supporter. I'm sorry, we talking about the same guy who turned our city over to Hamas and Antifa the last 2 years, who didn't say one word when the Gaza encampment showed up at the University of Washington? Bruce Harrell liked the idea of being mayor. He didn't like the idea of actually doing the job of being mayor. So while I was on Fox this morning, they were comparing Mamdani and Katie Wilson, but that's not the comparison you should be making. That's not what you should be taking away from these election results.
Now, and Ari, in honor of Kamala Harris, we're going to pop up a Venn diagram to compare Wilson and Mamdani. Both support sanctuary city policies, progressive taxes, and city-owned grocery stores with slight differences in their solutions to rent and childcare. So, Ari, when the final votes are counted, will our country end up being bookended by socialism?
Well, it looks like in Seattle, we're definitely going back to that, something we moved away from. But it's not so much because Katie Wilson is so successful. It's because her predecessor, or who is about to be her predecessor, was an absolute failure. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell was elected on a more moderate slate of candidates after the riots of 2020 and the deadly autonomous zone. And he promised a return to normal, a return to public safety, but he didn't do that at all. This is a guy who liked the idea of being mayor, but not actually doing the job of being mayor. And he ran a campaign as lazy as his time in office. By the time he was running for re-election, nobody wanted him. It was a lot like Cuomo if you're looking for more things to be Venn diagrams for that race. And it's not a good thing. When people show up to vote against the other candidate, not so much for you. There was no excitement for him. So what happens is you have Katie Wilson, who, going back to your Venn diagram comparison, is a 43-year-old woman who's still living off her parents because she's never had a real job. She dropped out of Oxford with 6 weeks to go before graduation. Her husband refuses to work, not can't work, refuses to work. And then she asks Seattle to pay the bills for her. Now it looks like she's going to be in charge of one of the greatest cities in the country because so many socialists showed up to vote for her and nobody wanted to vote for the moderate because he did such a terrible job.
Exactly, Ari Hoffman. You know what you're talking about. Bruce Harrell, who was excited to vote for Bruce Harrell? Even people who last election weren't excited to vote for Bruce Harrell, but they said it's him or, exactly. It's him or Lorena Gonzalez. And they said, well, we'll just pick him. I guess we'll just go with him. Nobody's excited about Bruce Harrell. That's not how you win an election. Robin Lakewood says we should have Katie Wilson swearing in at the Lenin statue. For those of you who don't live in Seattle, yes, we have a statue of Lenin that was brought over here from the former Soviet Union. Yes, that's right. It's in Fremont near some really awesome bars, but really, really terrible people want to bring that one over here. This one here, I love when our listeners quote us back our sound clips we play to them, Mike. This one here from John in Lakewood. He says, Jim McDermott. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time. A long time. This one here from Jeff in Kent. Referencing Katie Wilson's endorsements, they love Katie because they can lead her around by the nose. Exactly. Exactly, exactly, exactly. These are the people who are going to be running City Hall, and they needed a beard. They needed an empty suit, and they got Katie Wilson. You're going to be seeing all those left-wing rock stars of the Seattle world, rock stars in their own minds, being the ones standing behind her for every dumb policy she implements. Tammy Morales had her chance. Teresa Mosqueda is still doing it. Nope, they want to double down more because socialism just hasn't been done right yet. Don't forget, coming up at 4 o'clock, we're going to have the latest ballot drops as soon as they go live on the website. So we'll bring them to you here on the Ari Hoffman Show to see if this thing is getting closer. But if Katie Wilson breaks that 2,000 vote threshold, there is no recount, and we might as well call it a day. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Richard in Seattle. Richard, what's up, man?
Ari, hello, sir. Hey, Harrell lost this race when he was a 12-year apprentice on the city council, as milquetoast as he was, and he wouldn't even stand up to tell Sawant to shut her pie hole. So he lost it back then. And then he did his one-year interim, so he slides in after the chaos of Durkin, which actually Durkin looks good compared to Harrell. And I say we just jump on this baby now like a powerboat race, full throttle ahead, run it right into the rocks as hard as we can, and anybody jump off when you need to with your life vest. Just let them run this into the ground. And everybody hold her up from middle finger waving Morales, who likes to give Cho the middle finger when they're out walking around. The fragility of Katie Wilson, she's being propped up. I actually thought she was a plant to make Harrell look good, but maybe that backfired on him. Give it to her. Roll out the red carpet and just let her beat this town to crap.
Well, see, the problem is, Richard, we still got to live here, man. I mean, I still got kids I got to pay for. I don't want my house being, torn down by the socialists who are saying we're going to turn it into low-income housing or something. I like my house. I don't want the bread lines to come back. And here's the thing. It's going to get more expensive. Look, I'm with you where a lot of people are just saying, you know what? Last person leaving Seattle, turn off the lights. I actually had AI make me an updated version of that cartoon with modern-day cars in it, of that picture with modern-day cars in it and the same billboard, but updated for modern day. I know you're right. I know you're right. And a lot of people are just going to say, let's do a little experiment. Let Seattle be that experiment. But Richard, you live here. I live here. And we've had this experiment since what? Sawant first got elected. We never changed anything after Sawant left. We've been cruising. We have been living in Sawant land even while she's been gone. Nothing has changed.
Right.
And I think that's yet another reason why Bruce Harrell lost this race. I totally hear where you're coming from. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. And when we come back, my friends, we're going to show you exactly how unaffordable Seattle has gotten. You might have noticed some of your meals out are more expensive. Katie Wilson, it's going to become even more expensive. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Mike just had a caller call into the show who was wondering if there's any silver lining whatsoever to Katie Wilson getting elected. I have an answer. Dr. Evil, is there any silver lining whatsoever to Katie Wilson getting elected?
How about no?
There's nothing for us here in Seattle. There is no silver lining except for the following, which is what our last caller said. Maybe it gets bad enough that people finally wake up, except I'm not optimistic about that. They didn't wake up after the autonomous zone. They didn't wake up after COVID. They didn't wake up after Sawant. They just moved a little a little bit more right to somebody like Bruce Harrell. Actually, the upside, the silver lining to this is the rest of the country. The rest of the country is going to look at us as a cautionary tale, and you're going to get to see the stuff fail in real time, like our gas prices. How is it that the gas prices are finally going down nationally and not here? Now, they're a little down here. I noticed some of them are down from record high of 489, 509 in the Seattle area. Why? That has nothing to do with what's going on here in Washington. That has to do with Donald Trump bringing down the gas prices nationally. And if those prices are coming down nationally, they're going to affect us here in Seattle. I think Seattle is just going to become more of the cautionary tale it already is. There is something else. I mean, there's silver lining for me, but I hate saying this. I hate acknowledging it. I mean, people talked about how Rush Limbaugh was so successful because Bill Clinton was in office. Look, for us, if it was Bruce Harrell or Katie Wilson, either way, we've got the same content. We've got the same material. I never like to look at it that way because I want Seattle to get better. I wish we did a sports show. I wish we talked about movies all day. I wish we didn't have to do all the political stuff. But unfortunately, that is what we have to bring awareness to right now. And I think there is another silver lining here, is that you have the opportunity to say, this is socialism, and this is the direction the Democrat Party has gone. This is what has happened to the Democrat Party, and you have the opportunity to say to your friends, the Democrat Party has been taken over by socialists, is not your party anymore. What are the things we agree on? Because the socialists don't agree with us on any of that stuff. And you have to say no to the socialism, and you might be able to pick up some moderate mainstream Democrats. Look, here's the real silver lining. You want an actual one without me doing a double negative type thing? Look how close the vote was. Look how close the vote was. Next time, if you have a candidate who's not Bruce Harrell, who can draw a clear distinction between the socialist policies that fail and something else, you might get an actual conservative type here elected in Seattle. Those of you who think I'm crazy, I actually think I know how to do it. I actually think I know how to do it. We'll save that for another episode. You know what's going to happen, though? Somebody like Dan Strauss is going to think it's his time to shine. Somebody like Dan Strauss is going to go, I can be the new Bruce Harrell. I can be this new empty suit guy, because people are so mad at Katie Wilson. Just watch. Mike, guarantee you, somebody like Dan Strauss is going to throw his hat in the ring next time. Just watch. Really, just watch. That's what's going to happen. Meanwhile, talking about things around here, we have the most expensive takeout in the U.S. According to a national study of the national average, Seattle is ranked the most expensive U.S. city for takeout, with cost 29% above the national average. Why do you think that is? Aside from the Uber Eats, which have been taxed up the wazoo. In addition to that, when you have high gas prices, your food costs more. And we have some of the highest gas prices in the U.S. We have the highest Uber prices in the U.S. Economists attribute the high prices to regional operating costs and inflation in food and housing. That's all because of the Democrats. That is nothing that the Trump administration or tariffs or anything else did around here. This is according to Net Credit. The study analyzed menu data from Grubhub, comparing prices for different fast food chains in 260 different cities, calculating the average national price for the most popular items. While Seattle topped the list, Bellevue also made the top 10% for most expensive cities to order takeout, ranking 9th with 16.39% steeper prices than most. Do you know why Bellevue hit that? They're paying the same operating costs without the Uber insanity as we are here in Seattle. Same gas prices. That kind of stuff is affecting them as well. And that's why these prices are so high. Donald Trump had nothing to do with any of that. That is 100% on the Seattle City Council and the Washington State Legislature.
Well, there was another story I sent you also about chain restaurants. You know, like it's like 17% higher for chain restaurants, like, you know, Applebee's and the things of that like here. So it is very expensive to eat here. And a couple weeks ago, I went to Chicago for a Transformers convention, and the hotel is kind of like in this hub entertainment district type of thing. A lot of chains, a lot of restaurants, a lot of things like that, like, you know, sports bars, family Mexican restaurants, things like that. And every time we went out to eat, I was just blown away by how cheap stuff was. Meanwhile, I've got friends from, like, you know, Missouri and Minnesota and Pennsylvania, and they're all complaining, "Oh my God, these hamburgers are so cheap." I'm like, you're telling me I could get a decent hamburger and fries and drink for less than $20? Holy mackerel, I'll take two.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, Mike, what are you so excited about? This is so expensive. I'm like, brother, I'm
have
on
no idea.
vacation.
I thought to myself, man, I wish I had gas jugs, like gas canisters, in New York to fill it up, check it in on the airplane, and bring it back with me. That's how cheap it was in New York. Here's something else, Mike. You want to know why the food costs are so expensive? Remember that stupidity the Democrats did with the egg prices out here? Oh, they're not free range. And that hit every normal farmer around here. And that's why prices for food went through the roof. They use eggs in everything now. By the way, if you're worried about how expensive things are, thank a local Democrat. Get ready to thank Katie Wilson. She's part of this whole mess. Speaking of Democrats, when we come back, my friends, looks like the shutdown's about to be over, but the Democrats have all completely turned on each other, and watching the implosion, well, shall we just say watching them eat each other is delicious. More delicious than eggs. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I had a lot of people on the left busting my chops today about these new Epstein emails. Okay, guys, we've been following the Epstein stuff for years and Trump's involvement in all this. First of all, let me backtrack a second. The Democrats are saying, this is proof. We finally got him this time. This is where we finally get him. Finally got the coyote. No, that's not what this is. I like Eric Swalwell saying, this proves the President of the United States was stooping under eight. Dude, do you really want to talk about who's stooping who, number one? Consider the source, Eric Swalwell. How's that Chinese spy doing? You guys keep in touch, or she doesn't really talk to you anymore now that she got everything she wanted out of you? Yeah, you really probably sit this one out, dude. So these emails were released in 2016. All the Democrats did was redact a few things and write victim as opposed to who they are talking about. They're talking about Virginia Giuffre. Virginia Giuffre is the same witness who literally testified Donald Trump did not do anything with the girls. So what are you doing here? You're trying to make a scandal. It seems like somebody on the Democrat side of the aisle is saying, wait, we don't want to get hit with this shutdown stuff. How do we distract everybody? Let's bring out the Epstein stuff. Let's do that. Oh, by the way, Democrats voted against releasing the Epstein stuff again today. So it's all a sham. In addition to that, we had this stuff in 2016. Biden had this stuff while he was in office. If this stuff showed more, where's the rest of it? Where's the rest of it that actually shows the smoking gun at any point? What do we know? We know for a fact that Trump and Epstein were friends. We know for a fact that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago when he found out what was going on. We also believe that President Trump spoke to the FBI about what he knew about Epstein and told them what was going on. Now, I have a theory, and tell me if you agree with my theory based on all of this. None of these emails contradict any of that, by the way. None of it. And Virginia Giuffre, she's also the one who said, oh, Alan Dershowitz did this and Alan Dershowitz did that, and it was proven she was lying. If you really want to go this route with everything. Not the most reliable witness. She's not the one who testified. They didn't think she was a reliable witness. So you're messing with that as well, even if you want to say victim number one says that Trump was in the house with Epstein. It doesn't say he did anything there. You got to show me more than this, guys. You really got to show me more than this. But here's something else. What if you had a friend and you heard some really awful stuff about the friend? Heard some really awful stuff. And you said, you know what? I don't even want to take the risk anymore. I'm just going to cut this guy out of my life. And then you find out later that something really awful happened with that person. And you go, oh, I didn't know it was that bad. I mean, I heard stories, but okay. And then you go to the authorities and you say, okay, I didn't know this was for real, but this is what I heard. This is what I told you. Is that any different than what President Trump did? Is that any different at all? These emails, they're trying to prove something's going on. I'm not seeing the smoking gun yet. These emails were released by, I forget if it was NBC or CBS, in 2016. This is not new stuff, and everybody's going, we got him this time. We got him this time. I don't see it. I really, really don't. I believe this is all a distraction from the shutdown mess because the Democrats own it. They know they own it, and they don't want to talk about it. So they said, quick, what do we have? What can we release? Epstein files, the thing that gets everybody talking. That's what I think is going on here. You agree with me, you disagree with me, give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. What were they trying to distract from? Here's the press secretary.
As you pointed out, the Democrats were holding our country hostage to try to negotiate on a health care system that they created. Obamacare, as it's famously called, is a system the Democrats created. It is a broken system. It has driven up healthcare costs dramatically in this country. And now they shut the government down to try to fix that system they broke. It doesn't make any sense to us, which is why the president said that's a completely untenable position. However, once the government reopens, the president, as he's always maintained, is absolutely open to having conversations about healthcare. And I think you'll see the president putting forth some really good policy proposals the Democrats should take very seriously to fix, again, the system that they broke. You can't trust the same people who broke the system to fix it, and so the American people will continue to hear from the president on this issue.
Let's remember what all this was about, the Obamacare subsidies. And they're saying, the Democrats are saying, we need you to pay for those. I thought Obamacare was supposed to be cheaper. I thought it was supposed to be cheaper from the government. No, They were trying to do socialized medicine. They thought this would be a step in that direction. Instead, they made everything more expensive for everybody. Sound familiar? Now they're trying to use your taxpayer dollars to fix the mess that they made. Meanwhile, the leftist activist group Indivisible, which promoted and launched the No Kings protest in June and October, has announced that they will only support candidates in the upcoming primaries for Senate midterms that call to cancel Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Their reasoning is that Schumer allowed the government to reopen after Democrats kept it closed for leverage. So Schumer wanted the Democrats not to reopen the thing. A whole bunch of Democrats said, we're going to lose our elections. So now the Indivisible group, you can never be far left enough for the far left. Chuck Schumer's attempt to hold the country hostage didn't work. Worse than that, his attempt to try to appease the socialists and the far leftists didn't work either. You want a little prediction, Mike? Pain. Now, here's the prediction. The prediction is that you're going to hear Chuck Schumer announce his retirement sometime before he's up. I don't know if he's up in 2026 or 2028. I got to go double check when he's actually up. You're going to hear him announce his retirement because he wants to go out with everybody going, yay, we love you, Chuck Schumer, rather than losing on the national stage. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from John in Lakewood. John, what's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, Art? Listen, I heard you talking earlier about, how there were some travel, guides out there talking about the high cost of food and gas and stuff like that in Washington. And I think that when people read that, they just assume that, Seattle and Washington, nice places, people, it's attractive. That's why prices are high. But they don't understand, nor do I think they're hearing about the underlying causes of it. And, I listen on, liberal media won't talk about it because I think they want to keep that under wraps. And conservative media doesn't even talk about it, except for.
Hang on a second. Whoa, John! I literally just did. I literally just did in the last segment.
But then you're the lone voice, Ari, because no one's hearing you.
I literally just did in the last. I literally just did a whole analysis, John, of what is causing this. I literally just did it.
Yeah, but it's not happening elsewhere in the country, and other pundits are not talking about it.
Well, I can't control what other people say. I can only control what I say. And that is yet another reason why everybody should download the KVI app and subscribe to us on whatever podcast you listen to. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, a Star Wars actor says he will return to a galaxy far, far away if Disney gives up being a bunch of fascists. That's a direct quote. We'll tell you what the hell he's talking about when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Oscar Isaacs played resistance fighter and resistance pilot Poe Dameron in the Star Wars sequel trilogy for Disney. I liked his character. I didn't like him very much in the second film, but I liked his character fine enough. He was doing an interview with GQ about this new movie he's doing, and they asked him if he would ever return to a galaxy far, far away. Here is what he said during that interview.
You said that you would never return to Star Wars unless you needed a bigger house or a second home.
That was a real likable quote, wasn't it?
See, there you go. It was.
You say stuff.
Yeah.
People ask you things, you say stuff. You don't really think about it that much.
Right. But then you're held to it because it's
because it's there. It's
like a religion. It's like
it's true. I said a slightly dickish thing.
But then you've said you've softened on this. That was what I was going to ask. It sounds like you've kind of I feel like more recently I saw you saying, well, maybe why not?
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I'm open to it. Like I'd be open to it. Although right now I'm not so open to working with Disney. If they kind of figure it out and not succumb to fascism, that
would be great.
That would be great.
What is he talking about? Not succumb to fascism? Well, there's a little editor's note on the article for GQ magazine. This interview was done 2 days after Jimmy Kimmel was pulled from ABC for his comments falsely claiming that the guy who assassinated Charlie Kirk was a member of MAGA. So apparently pulling somebody off the air for saying something false makes you a fascist? Okay, good. Now do Gina Carano. Let's do that, huh? Gina Carano got fired because they didn't like a meme of hers. Maybe it's just when you work for a company, you have to be aware of things you say when you're not working for them. He literally even acknowledged that when he was asked about his earlier comment about working with Disney, when he said it was a dumb thing to say that he would never work for them again unless he wanted a bigger house or something. Why would they hire you back if you're disparaging them? Think about Megan Fox for the Transformers movies. She wasn't brought back for the third Transformers movie because she compared working with Michael Bay to Hitler. And you're going to say, am I going to hire this actress back ever again? Of course not.
How about no?
Exactly. So at this point, you're calling Disney a bunch of fascists? Is that where you're going with this? Okay, whatever. I got my own issues with Disney, but this is the direction you're going in. It's an anti-Trump thing. Here's something else. You think Disney wants to go down this road again? After what happened with the Snow White debacle? You had an actor get political, an actress get political, and it tanked the movie. It almost tanked the studio, how badly that movie did. Hey, you guys want to go down this road again, be my guest, but I don't think anybody's really calling for more Star Wars sequels. Let's be honest, that season 1 finale of The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars we've seen since the original trilogy. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from James in Tacoma. James, make it quick, man. Got about a minute.
Yeah, you were talking about fast food prices in Seattle being so expensive. Well, take a look at Boise, Idaho, Houston, Texas. You can get a taco there for 89 cents, but minimum wage is only $7.25 an hour. Whereas Seattle, that same taco is $2.89, but minimum wage is $21 an hour. So what do you want? Do you want $7.25 an hour in Boise, or do you want $21 an hour wages in Seattle?
Exactly right. And when you up the minimum wage, that's what's going to happen. But I'll tell you something. You know the only way the prices are getting cheaper around here? If they repeal the minimum wage stupidity, which they're not going to do, or when people get replaced by robots. And that is more likely to come before anything else. And too many people on the left are saying, oh, things are so expensive here. Well, yeah. Between the taxes on Uber, between the minimum wage, between what you did to food costs, between what you did to fuel costs, all of that is why all this is so expensive here. James, great point. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Looks like King County elections put out their results a little bit early, so when we come back, we're going to tell you if there's a path to victory for Bruce Harrell or if we can live in commie land under Katie Wilson. We'll give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, who's going to be replacing Nancy Pelosi? We've got a few terrible candidates, including her own daughter. But before we get to any of that, well, my friends, the election in Seattle has been called. That's right. According to the Seattle Times, they are calling the race for socialist Katie Wilson. Now, I think it's a little premature to do that, but we see what direction that this is trending in, that more ballots are going to come in for both candidates. Unless they finish counting and they haven't told anybody that yet. You're talking about a 1,976 vote difference between the two candidates. 1976, that's it. That's how close this was. Now, the left is going to play this as a win for socialism. I'm going to play this as a two unlikable candidates, this is what you get. Even the left was calling out Katie Wilson. You literally have that guy from Real Change, which is definitely not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. They're definitely my little red book of Maoist media. They were calling out Katie Wilson as having been invented by the stranger. The people who play this nationally as a defeat for Donald Trump clearly have not been listening to Bruce Harrell the entire time he's been in office, where he clearly doesn't like Donald Trump and he's been a Democrat the whole time, but you can never out-left the left. And that's exactly what Bruce Harrell did. That's exactly what he tried to do. And it was a failing campaign strategy. It was a failing campaign strategy from the time he put it in. Now, I think you still are within the threshold for a recount, but when more votes come in, you're going to be out of that thing and no problem, which is why the Seattle Times is calling this race already. So get ready for Mayor-elect Katie Wilson. That's right. That's what's going to happen. That is the person who busks at the Pike Place Market but can't actually play instruments. You know what she's probably going to do? Defund the police and replace them with buskers from the Pike Place Market. That'll probably be her big plan, right? We know some of the dumb things she has said. That's going to be the new mayor of Seattle with a socialist city council. Now, for those of you who say, Ari, the vote was rigged, it was fixed. You know who could fix this right now if he wanted to? Bruce Harrell. Bruce Harrell could come out and challenge the thing. He's a lawyer. He's probably got a team of lawyers. He's so lazy, I doubt he'll actually do it. I doubt he will actually do it. And that's going to be his legacy for Seattle. Failure thrown out on his butt. That's what it's going to be. Just like every other mayor we've had for the last, 2 decades? None of them have gotten more than one term in office. One year we had 4 mayors. When the Ed Murray scandal happened. In that year, you had Ed Murray, you had Tim Burgess, you had Bruce Harrell, and you had Jenny Durkin, all in 1 year because we have such horrible people out here in Seattle and such horrible candidates and such horrible politicians. Great, so you got Katie Wilson now. What are you excited about? What are you excited about with Katie Wilson that's not already happening? You want to defund the police again? We know how that worked out. You really want to go down that road again? Fine, let's go down that road again. What, you want to tax the rich? You're already doing it and the rich are leaving, which means you're going to be the one hit with the taxes. What do you want exactly that Katie Wilson is pushing, that she's selling? What do you think is going to be successful? Right, socialism just hasn't been done right yet. And I say this as a guy who didn't vote for either candidate. I'm one of those little write-ins right there. And by the way, we're outside the margin of error for the write-ins for the people who are blaming me for this the other day. I wish I had that much influence. No. Is this something that shows that the Seattle Times is losing their influence? The Seattle Times is trying to be the first ones to declare this. You know why they're doing that? They're trying to get in Katie Wilson's good graces, which is why they printed that puff piece towards the end of the election. Look at the 2 great candidates we have. No, you have 2 terrible candidates. Bruce Harrell is our own version of Cuomo. Exactly our own version of that on so many levels that not everybody knows. But we literally have our own version of Cuomo where he's so unlikable, nobody wanted to come out and vote for the guy. That's who we have. Bravo, Seattle. You guys get exactly what you deserve for voting for this train wreck. And look how close it was. To say this was a referendum on anything, this is not a mandate. You may say it is because of the Seattle city attorney race or one Seattle city council member race or two races. No, it's not. This is not a mandate. This is Seattle being Seattle. Anybody who tries to say, oh, this is a mandate for nationally, no, this is a mandate for Seattle. This may be a harbinger for Washington, this election, but not the rest of the country. This is just Washington being Washington. So if you're worried about things being so expensive now, they're about to get more expensive. And here's something else that's going to be like Joe Biden. It's going to be like when Joe Biden was in office. Katie Wilson is a dum-dum. There is nothing there. It's not that she's socially awkward, which is how the left is trying to make that a thing. No, she is dim. Very, very dim. And as a result, what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of people taking advantage of the dim mayor to push through their radical agenda. And because she's not a true leader, she's going to trust them to do it. And when she trusts them to do it, they're all going to be working at counter purposes and things are only going to get worse. You know how many Seattle police officers said the second they hit retirement, they're out of here? And we have a whole bunch of them that are retiring over the next 4 years. So all that recruitment progress that you guys claim you have made where you really haven't, gone. All gone. Back to crime. Katie Wilson. Katie Wilson says she has no problem with people camping in parks. Well, we found out today that 3 of our local Seattle parks that are already closed, that the closures are going to extend longer. Why? Because they're that bad. Katie Wilson's going to let the homeless camp wherever they want. She's going to end the sweeps with the Seattle City Council. Empty suits like Dan Strauss are going to go along with it. Yeah, just watch. Crime's going to get worse. Needles everywhere. It's going to go back to the way it was during COVID. That's what's going to happen. Do I think she'll do any long-term damage? Yeah. What's she going to do the minimum wage with that city council? Why stop at $20? Why not make it $30? Why not make it $40? How many more businesses are going to close? How many businesses are going to say, we're done with Seattle. We are getting out of here. How dumb can these people be? It's only going to get worse. Guaranteed. This is not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. How many people are going to say they're going to move? This one here from Larry. I've never been excited about moving. This will be the very first time. Exactly right. Exactly right. So 1,900 votes. 1,900 votes is what separated this race, and people are going to see it as a mandate. This is not a mandate, but that's how the the socialists are going to run everything. That's right. I can't believe there's going to be a day where we wish we had Bruce Harrell back in office, because at least he was just kind of there. Just kind of there. Here's something else for my Democrat friends. Do you guys realize how the left has taken over your party? Do you guys get that at all? The Seattle Times doesn't want to lose access, so they're going to print everything like it's such a wonderful idea, every single thing that Katie Wilson's going to do. That's what they're going to just watch. Just watch. I see how this works. Sawant was easy to hate because she was so angry all the time and yelling all the time, and everybody hated her, and they still ran cover for her. They still did that. They barely called her out. That's what you're going to have with Katie Wilson. And they're going to give her a little honeymoon period. Who knows what her big announcements are going to be? Yep, Bruce Harrell, guaranteed failure. Guaranteed failure. This is why I did not put my name next to his. This is a guy who has been a failure his entire political career, and it should have ended this way. 100% it should have ended this way. I don't know why anybody's surprised. Question is, can we work around him? And I think there might be a way to work around Bruce Harrell. Let me tell you about some drama that's been going on behind the scenes. We got some texts about it today. And I will tell you what's going on. So this Sunday, there's supposed to be an event for Let's Go Washington. We're having a super signer rally, and I was going to be headlining this thing. It's at Gig Harbor High School at their gymnasium out at 5101 Rosedale Street Northwest in Gig Harbor. And we're going to be signing the initiatives to keep men out of girls' sports and to make sure that parents have the rights to their kids' education, to know what's going on in their kids' education. I mean, my kids have parent-teacher conferences tonight. So I wonder, is the teacher going to go, what do you do at parent-teacher conferences when they won't tell you what they're teaching your kid in school? Do they just cancel the conferences? Or they go, oh, well, we really like your child. I can't give you the pronoun or name they're using in school, but yeah, which is the one they want to be called at home? Ah, yes, I see. What do you really talk about at those? So it's very important we sign these initiatives, get them passed, and have such an overwhelming majority that the left is concerned, like they were with police pursuits, like they were with the Parental Bill of Rights the first time, that if they run against these things, they will lose. So this thing is scheduled for Sunday, November 16th. That's this Sunday, 1:30 to 3 o'clock at Gig Harbor High School. Now, what happened was I agreed to do this weeks ago. Let's Go Washington reached out and said, hey, Ari, can you headline our event? I said, absolutely, more than happy to. I've been telling them for a while if they want to do these Super Signer events, I'm more than happy to. Well, on Friday, I got the oddest email, weird email, from Julia Park. Julia Park wrote me this, Mr. Hoffman. Okay, first of all, nobody calls me Mr. Hoffman. You say Mr. Hoffman, I look for my grandfather. You say Rabbi Hoffman, I look for my dad. Julia Park. My name is Julia Park, and I'm a reporter for the Tacoma News Tribune. I hope this email finds you well. I want to reach out because I'm writing an article clarifying a bit of a mix-up that happened with an event proposed at Gig Harbor High School by Let's Go Washington. I understand from Let's Go Washington website that there was a rally planned at Gig Harbor High School gym on Sunday, November 16th, and you are set to be the guest speaker. But the school district recently shared with me that the approval for the event was mistakenly given and that it isn't authorized to take place on campus under their policies. The misunderstanding has caused some residents to circulate rumors that the school district is hosting unauthorized political activities in connection with yourself on school grounds. That's quite an accusation to make, by the way. I want to give you an opportunity to comment. I was wondering if you could confirm whether you were invited to be a guest speaker at this event and whether you were planning to attend. I was also wondering if you'd like to share any further context or comments about your connection to Let's Go Washington and the proposed event. Yes, me and Brian Haywood sit in our little cellar, coming up with plans to take over the world that always end with a maniacal laugh. Mwah, ha, 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 ha. I'll get you, my little Democrats, and your little dogs, too. I mean, come on. Really? Really? So these are the questions I got from the reporter over at the News Tribune. Would you like to know how I responded? One little line here. Thank you for your email. I recommend that you ask the school district why they host events for the Democrat Party, but are not allowing this event and claiming Let's Go Washington event was, quote unquote, mistakenly approved. And I sent a link to the last Democrat event that they hosted in the district. Have a good weekend, Ari. That's it. Now, this story I cannot find anywhere on the News Tribune website. News Tribune, not known for being a member of the Ari Hoffman's Little Black Book of the right-wing media conspiracy. So, we know what happened here because a lot of people have been sending me screenshots. A bunch of people on the left got mad that I was headlining an event with Let's Go Washington, complained to the district. The district attempted to shut it down, and then realized, wait a minute, we might be in legal trouble because you can host anything you want, but if you pick one side or the other, you are opening yourselves open wide for a lawsuit, and we can't shut this thing down. So, to be clear, the event is happening this Sunday from 1:30 to 3 at Gig Harbor High School. I'll be out there, and we're signing the initiative. So if you haven't signed the initiatives yet, come on out to Gig Harbor High School on Sunday, and we'll sign the initiatives together there. It'll be a lot of fun. And I think I get to do an address to everybody. So it'll be a lot of fun. You can come out, you can meet me. We'll have a great time. But you can see what happened here. A bunch of lunatic activists don't want you to know what's going on with your kids in school. A bunch of lunatic activists want men competing in girls' sports. How is that equity? How is that equitable? They don't know what a woman is. They can't even define what a woman is. So they tried to shut down the event. Would you like to know some of the groups that are trying to shut down this event? Indivisible. Oh, you mean the people behind the No Kings rally? Now, wait a second. If I'm going to be at this thing, let's take a few bets on what's going to happen. Let's see who's probably going to be there. We're going to have the Antifa types, we'll have the left-wing activist types, we'll have the No Kings types. I assume we'll have a few Hamasniks sprinkled into the mix. This is going to be very, very exciting. But come on down with your American flags. Come on down with your American flags. Come on out with your MAGA gear. You know what? If you're a Democrat, come on down with whatever you want to come down with and sign the initiatives because the left knows that these issues are 80-20 issues. They are overwhelmingly popular with the average person. You're Republican, you're Democrat, come on down. In fact, if you're a Democrat, I'll talk to you first. We can argue politics. You can tell me everything you disagree with on these issues. We can do that. But it's the people outside who are trying to shut this thing down, who are trying to stop this. So people who live in the Gig Harbor area, people who live near Gig Harbor, I need you to come out. I need you to come out not just to sign the initiatives, but I also need you to come out because when you come out, you show you're not going to be intimidated by these people who are complaining, by these Karens who are complaining, by the lunatic Antifa types or anybody else who might choose to boycott this thing. There's going to be security. There will be police. Everybody will be protected. The event is happening this Sunday at Gig Harbor High School from 1:30 to 3. I know some of you reached out to the show and you said, is the event still happening? I heard it was canceled. It is not canceled. It is still going forward. Despite the left's best efforts, it is not canceled. It is still going on. By the way, I have a question for the No Kings people. That's discriminatory. That's discriminatory. How come it's not queens, trans kings, trans queens? It sounds a little discriminatory to me. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from our frenemy, Bennett the protester. Bennett, what's going on, man?
I was just saying I saw a lot of signs at No Kings that said no queen, no kings, yes queen, which I thought was funny. But so I'm guessing Ken, you got plans. I'm going to see you at Sunday at Gig Harbor. I checked my schedule a 5 times.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk to you about the homeless stats we talked about before. So remember I was saying the cities with the highest rent tend to be the ones with the highest homelessness. And I'm saying that causation can really only run one way. And you were talking about in Seattle, there are stats showing the number of homeless who became homeless in another city and then moved to Seattle. And I'm saying the conclusion is still correct. If you have high rent, that leads to high homelessness, which leads to people setting up social services, which sometimes then leads to people moving from other cities. But it doesn't change the fact that it's all downstream from the high rent in the first place.
So this is where I think you and I are going to disagree. Correlation is not causation. I don't believe that the vast majority of homeless people in Seattle are homeless because they are being priced out of our area. We have heard from all the stats that the overwhelming majority of people who are homeless in Seattle is because they have an addiction problem, because they have a substance abuse problem, because they have a mental health problem. Bennett, I don't live in Bellevue because I can't afford Bellevue. I don't live in certain parts, and I don't live in Medina because I can't afford Medina. It's not that I got priced out and I would be homeless or anything like that. I think that what you're saying is there is a correlation. I do not agree with your premise that it is causation. I'll give you the last word, then I got to run.
Okay, well, I think the correlation not equal causation thing is overplayed because if two things are correlated, either one causes the other or some third thing that causes them both. And if the high rent cities also have high homelessness, the causation can't run the other way. Like the homeless camping on the sidewalk is not going to cause the price of your house to go up. I would assume it's actually the opposite. And I understand what you're saying about most of them are on drugs, but I'm saying that if it's correlated with high rents, that suggests that they lost their housing for rent-related reasons, but then started doing drugs once they were on the street. But it doesn't mean that the drugs are the reason.
I promised you the last word.
High rent cities.
Right. I promised you the last word, so I'm not going to disagree with you, but something I do want you to look into, just for study's sake, okay? And like I said, I promised you the last word, so I'm not going to make my point. Look into where you have the most services offered and ask if that's one of the things that's also drawing people because of the tax bracket which you have out there, which then you can spend more money on more services because of the high cost of housing. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just asking you to look into that because I don't have those numbers at my disposal. But I'm just suggesting you look into that and more than happy to continue the conversation, whether it's Sunday or whether it's another time. Bennett, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss. Lots of your phone calls, lots of your texts in reaction to Katie Wilson being the likely winner of the Seattle mayor race. Also, who's replacing Nancy Pelosi? We've got some candidates to discuss. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, download the KVI app. Also a reminder, subscribe to the show on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. That way you never miss a minute of the show. While you're there, remember to rate and share so that way your friends can enjoy the show as well. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from John in Issaquah. John, what's up, man?
How you doing, Ari?
Good. What's up?
Good. Hey, I was just at the Fred Meyer in Issaquah with my family, and there was a very, very dark-skinned black guy that was out there that was doing initiative signatures for keep girls out of boys' sports and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so we signed the thing, and there was several people that were there signing it, and somebody came out and they said, "Oh, would you like to sign this petition?" And the guy called this very extremely dark-skinned black guy a Nazi.
Charming.
You're a Nazi.
I wonder if that's one of the paid signature gatherers who was actually being interviewed by members of the media. We should probably have him on the show about the names he's being called by the oh so tolerant left. I wonder if it's the same guy.
But we live with this lady that is 85, and she's always been very quiet. And so, but now she has taken, living with me, she's now gotten boisterous and in telling people what she thinks. and anyways, so my daughter, who's 11, is like, "Hey, Dad, that guy flipped you off." He's like, and she said, "Which guy flipped you off?" I said, "That one right there. He called the black guy a Nazi." And so she says, "I want you to drive over there. I'm going to call him an atheist." We drove over next to this car, and she rolled down the window, and she said, "You're an atheist." My soon-to-be 86-year-old.
Oh, this is.
Anyways, it was hilarious.
That does sound hilarious. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what's going to happen this Sunday at the signature event, and I'm kind of curious what kind of names I'm going to get called. Because
that sounds like fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're welcome to come, even though you already signed the things. I'll tell you this: my favorite thing about this is when I get called a Nazi. That's my favorite one because they call me a Nazi all the time. You know, the guy with the keep on his head?
I hear it all the time. That guy's a Nazi. It's like, that guy's an Orthodox Jew. How can you be a Nazi if you're also an Orthodox Jew? That's pretty bad Nazi.
That's a really bad Nazi, yes. So the guy whose family was killed by the Nazis, you're now calling him a Nazi. Yeah, that leftist logic. I tell you, liberalism is a mental disorder. It really is.
All the time. It was like, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
You see the stuff I deal with online.
Oh my gosh, really?
John, appreciate the call, man. Exactly. Right. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, now that Nancy Pelosi has said she's not running for office, it looks like everybody's going, okay, it's the Democrat show, so we can all do the dominoes. We can all move up the ladder. So, who's saying he's going to run for her seat? Scott Wiener. You may have heard the name Scott Wiener. Scott Wiener is the guy who, if there is a far-left insane cause, he will take it on while wearing S&M gear in public. I kid you not. That is this guy. Every crazy sexual fetish thing he has pushed for legislation to make sure it happens in bathrooms, you name it. This guy is a train wreck disaster, an absolute disaster. But what's funny is he's actually getting called out by the left. There's a woman named Tish Hyman who came to one of Scott Wiener's events now that he says he's running for Congress. And she called him out on his insanity. And she didn't call him out because she's a member of the right. She called him out because she's a member of the left. It's a little bit longer clip, but give a listen to what happened.
Senator Wiener, as the only black lesbian here, can I please ask you a question because I flew here to do that? Yeah. Okay. As a lesbian woman who was attacked in a woman's locker room at Gold's Gym this week by a self-identifying trans woman with a documented history of domestic violence, I'm deeply concerned about women's safety in female-only spaces. What would you say to women who are seeking assurance that their safety will be protected from men who, by California law, can self-ID as women in women-only spaces, sir? Please tell me.
Yeah. So we want, everyone to be safe, and we also know that, we have trans people, both men and women, who are men and women, and so, so if you're trans women are women.
Senator, you've done great things with the bills you've passed with the housing. I've read a lot of your bills, and like you said, there are bills that need to be opened up, and I'm telling you now, millions of women across America are being harassed and sexually assaulted in locker rooms. I'm a lesbian black woman. I'm not transphobic. I'm not homophobic. And I do respect a lot of the things you've done. But I do see a lot of these bills that you've passed that are dangerous for women and young children. And I understand that you're trying to be on a level playing field. And I'm here to represent my community because I hear a lot of things about my community in these bills. And I'm telling you as a woman, first and foremost, that this is dangerous, and we need your help because you're in the office. You're going to go in the Polisky spot. I want to support you. I have millions of people behind me watching this right now, and we want to know: are you going to protect women, not trans women? Trans women are different things. Women. Listen, we need to protect women's safety. I was assaulted. Women are women. I was assaulted. No, they are not. They are men. I was assaulted by men. He broke his wife's jaw so bad she needed reconstructive surgery. I'm a lesbian. I'm not transphobic, and I'm black. So if there's another black woman in here who wants to tell me how they feel, please join in. But all of you are not. And I don't know who you are, what you are, but I'm a lesbian, and I'm telling you right now, men are harassing women in the locker room.
Let's let him answer the question.
I'm just telling you, since y'all want to woo.
No, just let's.
Now I'm done. And by the way, I respect what you have done. I just want to let you know that.
Let's give the senator the opportunity.
I'm done.
I appreciate your point of view.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry that you were harassed.
Multiple times.
Now, hang on a second. Before he answers the question, she's being removed by security. They're having her be removed by security. That's who she's talking to. Now let's hear his answer.
And I appreciate you talking about it. I think we need to protect the safety of all women, and that obviously that's incredibly important. And I also know that trans women are also brutalized in this country. So women and cisgender women are brutalized in this country, and we have to protect the safety of all women.
We have to protect women. We cannot be raped in the bathrooms by men that want to say they're women. They're not women. They're not women. I'm leaving. It's okay, but I'm not going to take it. I am leaving because you know what? You guys are not protecting women. You're doing a lot. The bills that you're passing for the law, I read a lot of them. They're great. But this things with the trans, it's not right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Getting escorted out by security. So those of you who think that this isn't an 80-20 issue, this is an 80-20 issue. And there is room to win over support on the Democrat side when you talk about the initiatives to keep men out of women's sports, to know what your kids are up to in school. This is an 80-20 issue. When we come back, my friends, more violence from the left as Antifa attacks a Turning Point USA event at Berkeley, California. I'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Here's a story the mainstream media is ignoring. At the University of California, Berkeley on Monday, multiple people were arrested after violence broke out before Turning Point USA's final stop on its tour at the campus. According to Turning Point USA reporter Savannah Hernandez, at least 2 people were arrested on campus after a fight broke out between a Trump supporter and an Antifa member. The Trump supporter, who was left bloodied, claimed the Antifa member had tried to rob him. Antifa members attempted to de-arrest the member by being arrested by police. Yeah, well done, guys. Antifa agitators were seen rushing the barricades set up at the entrance to the event, chanting, "Fascists out of Berkeley." Another arrest was reportedly made at that time. Yes, the left is so peaceful, aren't they? Aren't they? So peaceful. No violence on the left at all. Agitators lit a flare, resulting in attendees of the Turning Point event being rushed inside. A person was heard chanting, "Anytime, any place, punch a fascist in the face." A car exhaust backfired outside the venue while performing a burnout raised fears in the crowd of gunshots being fired at a Turning Point USA event. Yeah, really nice job, you crazies on the left. Some agitators were heard chanting, can't say this on air, "F your dead homie." They're referencing specifically to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Others were heard chanting, "Antifa, Antifa, Antifa." Filmmaker Rajni Bhatia said that the entrance of the event, the QR code didn't register. She wrote, "Tonight, the UC Berkeley, we arrived under a confirmed invite and presented our QR code to the entrance. Despite following every instruction, we were denied entry. The QR code didn't register, which conveniently aligned with the administration's sudden confusion about our access. This happened to fellow attendees, too. It made no sense, and no one could give us a straight answer." Now, what were they protesting? Rob Schneider? Wait a minute. The guy from the Adam Sandler movies? You Can Do It guy? They're protesting him? No, they're just mad that's conservatives having an event on campus. They don't care who's at the event. He wrote on social media, "Thank you, Antifa, for welcoming us tonight at UC Berkeley. We look forward to our thoughtful, tear gas-free discussion and debate." Of course, Rob Schneider has become one of the speakers for Turning Point USA. He's at all their events. I think he's going to be at America Fest, which hopefully we're going to be at, so maybe I'll get a chance to interview him there. Turning Point USA spokesman Andrew Colvett said, "Despite the violence outside the building, we had a packed house in the heart of deep blue UC Berkeley. God bless these brave students for Charlie." As the event concluded, the exits of the building were crowded with agitators who yelled, "Blank you fascists," as attendees were leaving. Per the Berkeley scanner, 4 UC Berkeley students were arrested on suspicion of felony vandalism. Authorities said the arrest took place shortly after midnight. After officers spotted suspicious people wearing masks in the area, they found that 28 flyers had been glued to one of the historic buildings on campus. The notices featured quotes from Charlie Kirk speaking out against abortions, gun control, and other topics. The flyers, which announced a protest rally beginning at 4:30 p.m. later that day, said, "Hate is not welcome on our campus." The vandalism was determined to cause more than $400 in damages, and those arrested were women between the ages of 20 and 22. Now, one outlet in the mainstream media did decide to cover this event, but I shouldn't call it covering the event because they lied about the event. CBS News Bay Area described it as mostly peaceful. While all this rioting was going on and flares were being launched and people were being robbed and people were being assaulted and tear gas was being fired. So, after you had this mob of Antifa militants target the American comeback tour with smoke bombs and flares, standing directly across from what was going on, CBS News reporter Amanda Hari, according to the Post-Millennial, described the situation as lively and mostly peaceful, while at the same time detailing the chaotic scene. Here we go again, fiery but mostly peaceful. Her reporting drew immense pushback on social media from conservative pundits and independent reporters who witnessed the violence unfold. Andrew Colvett said the news is already calling what happened last night at UC Berkeley mostly peaceful. Why do they always do this? It's insane. It's insane. We're doing this all over again. You had a guy left bleeding on the ground, and you want to know who he was allegedly assaulted by? A rioter whose name is Jihad. I kid you not. A guy whose name is Jihad was arrested for assault and charged with assault and robbery after being involved in the chaos at the event. Jihad Diprepoles, age 25, doesn't sound like a college student to me. What was he doing there? Maybe a graduate student or maybe just an outside agitator? Was arrested for allegedly stealing a necklace off a victim of an attendee at the Turning Point USA event and then left the victim of the robbery bloodied in a fight. Oh, sounds like a nice, productive member of our society. According to the New York Post, officers determined that one of the men, this jihad guy, had stolen the other man's chain from around his neck. The other man was attempting to get his chain back from jihad. Footage of the fight was captured by Savannah Hernandez, appeared to show the suspect take something from the Turning Point USA attendee as the chaos took place while attendees waited in line. Another individual was seen heckling the victim after his face had been bloodied and was detained by the police. The unidentified victim was later released after police learned he was trying to get his necklace back from jihad. The heckler yelled, "What happened to your boy? Hey, white boy, what happened to him?" And they mean, you know what they're talking about. Other violence took place as we saw this chaos unfold. And now the Department of Justice is launching a federal probe into all this. Number one, how can the university allow this kind of stuff? U.S. Department of Justice Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon announced on Tuesday that an investigation had been launched into a violent attack against individuals attending the event at UC Berkeley. The FBI-led Joint Terrorism Task Force is also investigating the incident, according to the Justice Department. So this is good news that they're going after it in UC Berkeley, who thought they were off the hook for all this stuff. No, they're about to get a rude awakening. In fact, it was so crazy that finally Gavin Newsom even had to chime in. This is how bad it was. CBS Bay Area, unlike what you said, fiery but mostly peaceful. Quote, "Violence is not a legitimate exercise of First Amendment rights. While people have the right to protest, it must be done peacefully." And of course, Newsom's office has to say, oh, the majority of them were peaceful. So once again, here we go with fiery but mostly peaceful. Yeah, they're going with that nonsense again. Lots more to discuss as the show continues by popular demand. Aaron Hoffman, candidate, is going to be the next mayor of Snohomish. You wanted him, you got him. He's going to join us next for an interview about his election victory. Don't believe the socialists are winning everything. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. When KVI Nation asks for something, we do our very, very best to deliver. A lot of you reached out and said you wanted me to have Aaron Hoffman on the show, who was running to be mayor of Snohomish. Well, one shining light around here is that he won, and I assume that's because you guys liked him so much. So, of course, we had to reach out to him, not just because he shares some of our values, but also because we share a last name. Joining us now to discuss the mayor-elect for Snohomish, Aaron Hoffman. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, hi, Ari. Good to be here.
Such a pleasure. So tell us what you want to do. Now that you're ready to go, you're probably setting everything up. You're saying, okay, come January, here's what we're going to do. What are your plans? What do you want to fix?
Yeah, big one is the city current administration has been looking at building a new civic campus here, $60-70 million project, and we're a small town of 10,000 residents, and to me, it's just too expensive. So we're going to be looking at some alternatives. I think there's some great ones out there, much more to scale of a small town like Snohomish, and I'm excited to dig into it.
Awesome. When you were going door to door, what were people telling you their biggest problems were aside from the Civic Center?
Right. Yeah, I hit about 3,000 doors myself. My kids came with me on a lot of them. And a real good story is a woman I met, and our utility rates are going up a bit. And she literally just started sobbing because she couldn't afford, the idea of $100 or $200 more per month on utilities. And, our job isn't to necessarily provide, make sure that everybody can always afford to live in Snohomish. But the point is that every decision we make really carries weight. And so when you're making kind of fiscally irresponsible decisions, people feel that. And, with inflation over the last few years and just people trying to take care of their families, it's important to really be fiscally responsible and really try to maximize the utility of every dollar of taxpayer money that we spend.
I'm not sure you realize what state you're living in, sir. We don't do fiscal responsibility around here. We do quite the opposite, right?
I'm from California, so maybe I learned it down there.
Oh, very, very good. So we're talking with Aaron Hoffman, who's the mayor-elect for Snohomish. And a lot of people reached out because they said you're a man of faith. You believe in what you believe in. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm a Christian. It's one of the videos I put out is just saying you can't shame me over something I'm not ashamed of. I'm a Christian, and it's integral to my life. And the attacks over my faith were pretty shocking. I wasn't really expecting that. Just white Christian nationalist, all those different labels. And, there's nothing extreme about a Christian running for a nonpartisan position. What's really extreme is how many people think that Christians don't belong in any government position. It was quite the experience.
So tell us a little bit about what happened there, because I know that from my own experience, they like to call this Jewish guy a neo-Nazi, which kind of cracks me up at the same time as horribly tragic. So they had no dirt on you whatsoever, so they just decide to say you're a Christian nationalist, and that's the attack they went with on the left?
That's about it. I mean, I heard the Nazi and misogynist and racist and all of it. And I mean, we even had a council candidate say that I was running because I want women back in the kitchen and people of color to know their place in society again. And I'm sitting there with my wife, who's a shop owner. We own a retail shop here in the historic district. And, I'm like, man, I don't feel like a misogynist, but it's pretty shocking. And my best buddy, he's a black man and in a mixed race marriage, and our kids all play together every week. And, it's just like the labels are crazy, but they're even though they're ridiculous, they carry weight. And when people read those labels online, all of a sudden they start believing it. And, I did have a couple death threats. One was, we need to put this vile scum in a bag. And that kind of stuff's scary. I'm a young dad. I have three kids. And when you hear that kind of stuff, it's unique.
So since you won, have you heard anything from the other side, anybody from the city council or any other branches of the government there that say they're excited to work with you? Is it radio silence? What have you been hearing from the other side now that the campaign's over and they realize they have to work with you?
Yeah, I got some calls from the council, and there's a lot of good people on the council. I'm excited to work together. I think we'll be able to come up with some good solutions here in Snohomish and really help the people. I think it's just time for some new leadership. So I do think people will find that I'm actually pretty enjoyable to work with. I'm always open to hearing other point of views, and I think that's important. I don't want people to just go along with everything I say. I want people to challenge me, and when I look at the council, I want them to be a guide. I want to be a team, and I think we'll be able to do that.
Aaron Hoffman, congratulations. We're really, really happy for you. KVI Nation is really, really happy for you. They really wanted you to be on the show, so I'm sorry we didn't get you before the election, but hopefully we'll get to talk to you a lot during your term. Best of luck and congratulations again. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We'll have an exciting year, so happy to come back whenever.
Awesome. Always a pleasure. When we come back, my friends, more election results. I can't believe we're still counting ballots here in Seattle. We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to The R. Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless. Streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Trump proves he's a Mets fan. Makes me really happy by pardoning a Major League Baseball star. Or am I happy about that? But before we get to that, my friends, got some breaking news for you right now.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
The Seattle Times is officially calling the Seattle mayoral race for socialist Katie Wilson. Now, what's fascinating to me is it looked like the Seattle Times kind of jumped the gun on this. With a race so close, you assume that there's going to be a recount because you're still in the threshold for recount. You assume that with all the ballots counted, the ones that are coming back, everybody's going to be chasing those ballots. But the Seattle Times apparently knows what we know, that Bruce Harrell is lazy and probably not going to fight anything. He hasn't been doing any ballot curing operations, which means going around making sure everybody's vote counted, didn't do any of that. So the Seattle Times is saying, well, we know Bruce Harrell, and Bruce Harrell told them that he's going to address the people of Seattle tomorrow. That means he's not going to fight. So here's my thing. Did he even want to win this race? Did he even want to win this race? We've been talking about this for a week now. Did he even want to win? His social media was a joke. His campaigning was terrible. He ran all the way to the left to not distinguish himself from Katie Wilson at all. I couldn't tell the difference between the two of them. This was one of the worst run campaigns I have ever seen. And I've seen a lot of Republican campaigns that were disasters run here in Washington. Bruce Harrell's campaign, with all the gajillions of dollars they got behind this thing, was an absolute train wreck. No ballot curing, no ballot harvesting, nothing at all, and then trying to be your opponent. And then every time you got handed an opportunity to distinguish yourself, you screwed that up. Every single time. This is the guy who said he wanted to get to know prolific offenders rather than put them in jail. Every time he spoke, he sounded like a rambling version of Kamala Harris. That's why he lost. It's not because there's a socialist revolution or anything else. That's why he lost. Now, what's interesting is that Como News hasn't called it yet, and it's not because they're owned by Sinclair Media. It's because they're looking at the math. Right now, if Bruce Harrell wanted to challenge this, he theoretically could. But I doubt he's actually going to because he hasn't put in the work. He hasn't put in the work so far. He didn't put in the work while he was mayor of Seattle. Why would he challenge these results? Now, I'm going to read from the Seattle Times because I think this is an especially bad take on where we're at in Seattle right now. This, according to David Croman over at the Times. On Wednesday, Wilson took a 1,976 vote lead over Bruce Harrell. With a maximum of 1,320 ballots remaining, though likely fewer, it is mathematically impossible for Harrell to catch up. That's why they're calling it this early. Not challenging ballots, anything. Shortly after the results were released Wednesday, Harrell issued an advisory that he'd give a speech on Thursday to the people of Seattle. The results were all but assured after Tuesday's ballot count when Wilson jumped out more than 1,300 vote lead. They were finalized Wednesday, confirming a clean sweep for progressives in this year's Seattle elections, as three incumbents, mayor, city council president, and city attorney, have now been ousted. That swing is in sharp contrast to the 2021 and 2023 Seattle elections, in which voters cast out the city's most left-leaning politicians. They're right about it so far. With the resounding return of the city's more liberal wing, City Hall will be a much more divided place come January 1st. Stop. What are you talking about? Can we pull up the list of the Seattle City Council right now? Let's go with who they're talking about for this more conservative wing. Dan Strauss, somehow a progressive who survived the last purge barely. Dan Strauss, who was marching with Antifa against the Seattle Police Department in the riots of 2020. Are you kidding me with this? Deborah Juarez, who's filling a term because somebody else dropped out Deborah Juarez never met a leftist policy she didn't like. Alexis Mercedes Rink, she's already a socialist. She just got reelected. Joy Hollingsworth. I like Joy Hollingsworth personally. She always comes on the show when we ask her to. She's more of a John Fetterman type who's got very, very lefty policies, but you can have a conversation with, you can talk things through with. So we like Joy Hollingsworth, but she is not on the left. She ran as a more socialist type. I mean, she is not on the right. She is definitely very, very far on the left. Who are they talking about? Rob Saka, Bob Kettle, both of which are Democrats. Both are Democrats. You want to say they're more moderate Democrats? They voted for all the same stupid tax stuff and everything else that everybody did in City Hall. Why do you think this is a split city council? Why do you think this is split? 2 of 9 are not socialists. There we go, Mike. It's not a socialist city council because 2 of 9 are moderate Democrats and not socialists. What is David Croman talking about? A divided city hall. Give me a break. What else did he have to say? What other pearls of wisdom did he have here? The results means any successful legislation will only come through compromise. What? You literally have 7 out of the 9 votes. 7 of the 9 votes are lefties, far lefties. Where do you see an ideological split? Harrell is now the 4th mayor in a row to serve only 1 term. Only 1 mayor this century. Greg Nichols has served 2. Harrell was the city's longest-serving politician by a significant margin, having been in elected office for all but 2 of the last 18 years, either as a city council member or mayor. Well, maybe that's part of the problem. What have I been saying? There is no difference between Bruce Harrell and Katie Wilson, because Bruce Harrell doesn't do anything when he's in office, and the few things that he does do makes things worse. That's it. So, Wilson has been preparing for a transition into office since August. Following her strong showing in the primary. She's been quiet about who that has involved, though she has said it includes past veterans of city government. Mike, what did I say at the beginning of the show? At the beginning of the show, I went through Katie Wilson's endorsements, the people who endorsed her for mayor. Shall we pull that up right now? We should probably screenshot this before she deletes it. Let's see, who are these people she's talking about who are currently not in office? Former Seattle City Council member Mike O'Brien. Oh, he did a bang-up job the first time. Former Seattle City Council member Tammy Morales, who voted with Kshama Sawant 99% of the time. Andrew Ashifu, the one who falsely claimed Jonathan Cho had harassed him in some way. And then when he brought a harassment order against him, he asked the judge to withdraw it when he realized he had no proof on his side. Who else is over here? Crystal Marks, executive director of Real Change, the far left rag, former Burien City Council member. You mean the one who was the Kshama Sawant of Burien? Burien City Council member Hugo Garcia. Okay, he's got a job. Who do we got here? Andrew Grant Houston. Oh, great. Andrew Grant Houston. You mean the guy who did all that democracy, voucher harvesting, hundreds of thousands of dollars, only to come in, what was it, 5th or 6th? I forget. Spent the money on very questionable things that had nothing to do with the campaign whatsoever, refused to pay his rent, even though he's working for the Seattle City Council during COVID. This is who you want in office. Who else are the winners here? Oh, Brett Hamill, far-left radical activist who's out there protesting with the Hamasniks all the time and writes cartoons that call anybody who's not far-left enough for him Republicans and far-right. State Senator Yasmin Trudeau literally supports Hamas. Literally supports any anti-Israel thing she can get her hands on. Wow. So are these... Oh, wait. We're not done yet. Former Seattle City Council member Lisa Herbold. Is this who's going to be running City Hall? Probably true. Lisa Herbold. Remember the one who said, we have to get housing for the homeless and we should never sweep the homeless off the streets. Uh-oh, an RV showed up in front of my house. Quickly, get this thing out of here and somebody arrest Ari Hoffman. That's Lisa Herbold. I'm looking at this list. I guarantee you, if I go through these people's social media, of the ones I don't know, we're going to find even more insanity. Mike, holy cow, I missed the biggest one. Former Seattle City Council member and Washington Democrats chair Tina Podlodowski. Holy cow, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. You want to know who's going to be running this train wreck disaster of a city? All the people I just listed. Holy cow, this is bad. Well, time to put up a billboard. Mike, maybe we should do it. Last one leaving Seattle, turn out the lights, download the KVI app. People put it on high five as people are leaving. Well, they won't be heading south. Should we just take out that ad at SeaTac? Just take it out. That's what we should do. Take out that ad at SeaTac. Had enough, Seattle? By the way, that would go viral. We get free media off that. We definitely would.
Yeah, you could put it up at the, replace the old Dave's Diner sign that's still been there at least 6 years after they tore that place down. Quick funny story. When my wife, we first moved to SeaTac, I was like, oh, sweetie, I'll take you to breakfast over at this Dave's Diner. I've passed back that billboard so many times. We get there, it's a parking lot. It had been gone for years. I thought there was a restaurant there. No, it's just a parking lot, but the billboard remains.
That's funny. That reminds me. My family's from New Orleans. I got family that came over through New Orleans, and we went, my wife and I took a trip to New Orleans just to vacation and stuff, and I said, hey, let me ask one of my cousins where the family businesses and stuff used to be. Let me go see the buildings, see if there's any remnants. We took a cab all the way out to this place, parking lot. Total parking lot. Family history, gone. Non-existent. Looks like a lot of reactions over here. Jeff and Kent wins. Mike, I don't know if you saw this one. So 7 of 9 council members are far-left wackadoodles. And he's referencing Star Trek Voyager with 7 of 9. No, we like 7 of 9. We don't like this 7 of 9. Keep her name out your mouth. Exactly. Fun will now commence. Exactly. Holy cow. Yeah, this is the thing. I wonder if Bruce isn't fighting this because somebody said, if you don't fight it, here's the job we have for you. I wonder if that's why he's not fighting this. Or is it just he's had enough? The guy seemed like he was burned out. He wasn't even running this whole time anyway. This one here, Eben and Bonnie Lake, reminds me, Ari, again, there will be no need for the last person leaving Seattle to turn out the lights because there will either be stolen or there'll be no electricity. God, I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't be laughing at any of this. This one from Susan. Ari, Edmonds voters said no to a huge tax. So the city said they'll need to cut police, fire, etc. Can you get the smart financial analyst lady that ran the no campaign to update us on what they should cut instead? Susan, I'll tell you what. This is the first time hearing about it. I can't follow every race, but I'll tell you what, Susan. You drop me an email, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com with the information, and I'll invite her on the show. If anybody else knows the people she's talking about specifically, who this analyst is, email to me, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. We'll definitely get into it. This one here, Bob in Portland, he says we should put the big billboard, Mike, on the ramp to I-90 because everybody's going east, right? All right, so SeaTac Airport. Oh, no, wait a second. Doesn't U-Haul do advertising on some of their vehicles? One of the companies does advertising on some of that's what it should be. Katie Wilson, Seattle U-Haul Salesman of the Year. Katie Wilson, Seattle Real Estate Broker of the Year. Oh, the memes just write themselves. They really, really do at this point. Katie Wilson's unemployed by choice husband, who's a baker, says he's really, really excited for the bread lines to come back. This is just, holy cow. You know the only ones happy about this, aside from Katie Wilson's campaign? Her parents. Because now they don't have to pay for her child care expenses anymore, right? That's it? Okay, come on. How many more do you got? You guys send me your best ones. Text them or call at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Question is, how much worse can they make anything? I think the first thing that they're going to make worse is just police officers are going to say, nope, retire as fast as they can and get out of here. If they are due for retirement in the next 4 years, you know what? Let me make a note to myself. Ask Mike Solon to come on the show because, holy cow, we know what direction this is going in. Do you think she'll replace the woke police chief? My guess is no. Bad optics. Firing a person of color who happens to be super, super woke? No, I think she'll keep him because that's what she wants around here. She would prefer there are no police or the police work for her. But the question is, what is the Tammy Morales who's working in her office going to make her do? The Tammy Morales who voted to defund the police. The Lisa Herbold who voted to defund the police. What are they going to do? Because Katie Wilson is a sock puppet. Katie Wilson is the sock puppet. That's what we're going to call her from now on because everybody else is running the show, not her. She didn't run her own campaign. She is just the person they are putting up there so they can do whatever they want. That's what this is going to be. Bob in Portland says, given how slow the traffic moves, put it on the side of metro buses. Now, the reason I'm saying SeaTac is because nowadays people will ship their stuff and ship their cars. If they're moving to Eastern Washington, they'll probably drive. But I think a lot of people are just going to say, screw it. I'm done with Washington. I'm just out of here. Let me know what you think if you live in Seattle. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
What's up is I'm probably the only transit fan who is not happy about this election result. The list of people you read to me, like that, cartoonist guy, and that other left-wing cook, I'm wondering if you could just move the KVI studios to Redmond, where they have a Jewish president, Vanessa Kritzer, who's considering a second term as president. And also, we should move all the synagogues out of Seattle because I'm really worried about anti-Semitism. I mean, this Katie Wilson, I asked her to condemn it, and she only would do so privately. So this is a very nerve-wracking time, and we should call in and, oops, I need to take that out of my mouth before we get you into trouble. But I do think you should put a big fat sign and also help Jared Neuenhuis recruit businesses away to Bellevue and Redmond. And, of course, Vanessa Kritzer, who you should have on your show, as well as that guy Mike Solon. Because
I think here's the thing, Joe. I think the businesses are going to go on their own. And I'll tell you something. I think the businesses are tired of just jumping the lake. I think what's going to happen is the businesses that are based in Seattle go, that's it, we give up. That's it, we're done. How much more can you hit us with? That's what I think is going to happen. I really sincerely believe that. I think a lot of people are just going to say, why stay in Seattle? Watch, the first few proposals she's going to have, tax the rich for this, tax the rich for that, tax the rich for the other thing, move the money from the police department over to this thing. Just that's the stuff she's going to hit right away. And then when the rich leave, the ones who are still left, those are the taxes that are going to hit the rest of us. Joe, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, I guess this means if all the police are going to be leaving, local crime's about to get worse. So when we come back, we'll tell you about the crime we're dealing with right now and show you how it'll get worse under Mayor Wilson. Holy cow. But before we get to any of that, time for Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, download the KVI app so you can listen to us anytime, anywhere. Also, subscribe to our podcast on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Somebody said over on the text line, Ari, can you explain the difference between what's going to happen and what we have right now? We're still operating under socialist policies. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. All this means is higher taxes, higher expenses, and less police officers. That's what's really going to change around here. And what that means is they're going to say, oh, we need to tax you for more social services, not actually provide the social services, incentivize more homeless people to come here and not do sweeps to get rid of them. I bet this is going to look more like Seattle during COVID. I think that's what's going to happen. Businesses leaving and a lot of these drug addicts just wandering the streets. Mike, I don't know if you've noticed this. It seems to be getting worse in downtown when I'm driving in these days. And it seems to have been getting worse for months now. Usually politicians clean up the city, hoping to get reelected. Bruce Harrell didn't do that at all. Not at all. He only let it get worse and worse and worse. In fact, some of the stories we have now, this one cracks me up. You know what people are most mad about here in Seattle? This one happened a couple of weeks ago. Protesters were mad at Waymo, saying, no Waymo, no Waymo. They're really mad about that. They are worried about the company's safety record and having self-driving cars that are taxi cabs, taking jobs away from the drivers around here. Well, let's do this. A lot of people aren't taking Ubers anymore because it's so expensive around here. Anytime I can opt for an Uber, nope, not doing it because it's just too expensive. Not going to do it. Not going to do it at all. Okay? So just no. Me and friends are back to the 90s model of who's our designated driver this evening. That's what we're doing instead, because why would we drop the money on these cars? It's too expensive. Here's something else. So you're worried about these self-driving cars, which, by the way, I have my concerns. We talk about the robots taking over the world all the time. But you guys are the same protesters who want to make sure there's no police, who want to make sure there's no police pursuits, who want to have the drug addicts on the streets. So what am I more scared of, the Waymo or the drug addict who could just walk into traffic at any time? Or the guy who's going to run out with a baseball bat and start assaulting my car? Or the lunatic who steals a car and then uses it to crash into some kind of business, and then his friends show up in another stolen car so they can run away with those? What am I more concerned about? The self-driving cars or that? Yeah, you tell me the answer to that one. Meanwhile, in other violent news around here, police are looking for a suspect who brutally attacked an elderly woman and bit off her finger. Bit off her finger. Victim's family tells Como News that the 88-year-old woman was working on her back porch when the suspect snuck up behind her and started viciously beating her, leaving her with fractured ribs, a missing finger, and serious head injuries she's still recovering from. The violent attack happened in the middle of the day in Seattle's Rainier Beach neighborhood on 64th Avenue South. Marvin Cotton said of his mother who survived the attack, I already felt she was my hero, but after this, she's my superhero now because it takes a lot to go through that. This guy was trying to take everything she had from her, and when it didn't result, he bit her finger off. She said, if you want to take that, I'll take it off and give it to you. Holy cow. Tried to take everything, the ring from her. Martin Kahn said his brothers are in awe of their 88-year-old mother, Emma Kahn, who survived a brutal attack outside her home. Said, my mom only weighs 100 pounds, sopping wet, as definitely was something spiritual that happened that she's still here, that she fought this guy off. Seattle police released photos of the man believed to be the suspect who attacked Emma, who is lovingly known as Mama Cotton to her church community. Marvin Kahn also said maybe he had some problems we don't know about, so I forgive him. That's nice of you. I wouldn't. I don't want him around to do this to anybody else, but I do forgive him. Very Christian of you. When she said that to me, my heart just kind of went. The suspect bit off her finger trying to get her ring, leaving her with serious injuries and now missing her right index finger. He said, when I walked in the room and saw my mother, I didn't even recognize her. I almost fainted. Fracture over an eye, fracture of a cheekbone, fractured rib. The hand she writes with, she can't even sign her name anymore. Her index finger is gone. On her right hand, her toes were fractured. The Kahns are urging anyone who recognizes the individual to contact Seattle Police immediately. The pictures are up at the Seattle Police blotter, and the pictures are up over at comonews.com. That's not the only crime around here. This one here that we found out about, Seattle Police reported a trio of violent crimes in the early morning hours after Halloween, prompting locals in the area to ask for a focused public safety approach from whoever the next mayor is. Sorry, guys. You ain't getting that one. SPD reported a shooting at the Ohm nightclub in Pioneer Square. A 25-year-old security guard was arrested for allegedly shooting a 27-year-old man in the leg. SPD officers were stationed just feet away from the venue and Wait, they arrested the security guard, not the guy who was hassling the security guard? Oh, that's a preview of what we're going to get here in Seattle. SPD officers were stationed just feet away from the venue and responded immediately after hearing the gunshots. Security guard dropped his gun, took off his ballistic vest, and surrendered without issue. The nightclub was the scene of a triple murder in May this year, leading to the arrest of 2 men later that month. This is crazy. Within an hour of the first shooting, around 2:40 a.m., less than a mile north of the intersection of 2nd Avenue and Stewart Street, SPD reported that a conflict between cousins turned into a carjacking and exchange of gunfire. The driver got away by the time officers arrived. No one was injured in the gunfire. Apparently, there's a bunch of drug use involved in this as well. Then back in Pioneer Square at 4:30 a.m. near the sinking ship garage, SPD says they responded to what was initially a call for shots fired. They said they did not find any at the scene or shell casings. However, later in the morning, a 24-year-old man arrived at Harborview Medical Center with several stab wounds from an altercation. So that's 4, technically, not 3. This is the insanity we're dealing with around here. This is how bad it is, and it can get so much worse. It can get so much worse, but don't worry, my friends. You know why? SPD has appointed a new LGBTQIA liaison officer. We're saved! They have a new LGBTQIA liaison officer. That's right. He knows how to speak to the LGBTQIA community. Oh, isn't that just wonderful? Isn't that just wonderful? Man, you wonder how much worse things can get? Go look at the Seattle Police Blotter. Seriously, look at the Seattle Police Blotter, and you will see how much worse these things can get. Infinitely worse. They can get a lot worse. I guarantee you. I tell you. Oh, here we go. Hey, it's just like Mom Donnie. Right when you think Katie Wilson's going to win the election? At 2300 hours, this from the SPD Blotter, staff from a hotel called 911 reporting a male seen leaving the premise of what appeared to be a Molotov cocktail. Officers viewed CCTV footage, developed probable cause for weapons apparently capable of causing bodily harm, and identified the suspect with the hotel's assistance. The suspect was later located and detained. The suspect told officers he had left his water bottle purposely crafted to appear as a Molotov cocktail outside an exotic dance club. Officers located the item, which was not combustible. Subsequent investigation determined that the suspect was dissatisfied with the quality of entertainment and had asked to leave. Prior to leaving, he made anti-Semitic statements to an employee, signed the receipt with a swastika, and made vague threats to have the establishment burned down. Subject was booked for malicious placement of an imitation device in a hate crime offense. This is Seattle. Such a tolerant place. Such a wonderful place, my friends. Yep, get excited for Mayor Katie Wilson. Progress is her middle name. My Back to the Future friends. Progressive is her middle name. Mike, I see the meme right now for our Back to the Future friends. Like 5 people are going to actually give this thing a like, but you and me will get a giggle out of it. That's what's going to be. Mayor Katie Wilson. Progressive is her middle name. Oi. Just oi. When we come back, my friends, looks like Donald Trump is a Mets fan. Pardon one of the members of the 1986 Mets World Series team, but I actually don't agree with him doing this. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. You know, I had a whole baseball segment ready to go, which we'll get to those stories in a second, but right now, breaking news can be so inconvenient sometimes. Here's what we got for you.
Talk Radio 570 KVI. Breaking news on the Ari Hoffman Show.
The House of Representatives has officially voted to end the government shutdown. President Trump is expected to sign the continuing resolution tonight at 6:45 p.m. our time, 9:45 p.m. in D.C. Now, here's the part of the story that's interesting for you here in Washington. Number one, hopefully this will fix all the mess with the air traffic controllers, which SeaTac hasn't been that bad. But Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez and 5 other Democrats voted to end the shutdown. Would you like a little off-the-cuff political analysis here for a second? So off the cuff, let me give you this one. Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez is one of the most vulnerable Democrats, one of the most vulnerable seats in the House of Representatives. She's not going to be running against Joe Kent this time. So, because of that, she is worried about losing her job because she is so unpopular. And as a result, she voted to join the Republicans in ending the shutdown. This shoots down the narrative that the socialists are going to win everything in 2026. Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez is worried in deep blue Washington in her purple district about losing her seat. So she voted to join Republicans because she is worried about losing her seat to a Republican, and this is not the first time something like this has happened. Now, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is still upset, saying it did nothing about pandemic-era health care subsidies under Obamacare. So he's all mad about that. But, guys, you know you guys could have fixed this last time you were in government, right? When Joe Biden won big in 2022, you guys could have fixed this. You guys didn't fix it. And also, here's something else. I thought Obamacare was supposed to make everything cheaper for everybody. Why do you need to keep funding it and funding it and funding it if it's going to make government funds towards it less? That if it was going to decrease that and make it cheaper for the government, too. I was told that lie, along with you can keep your plan, you can keep your doctor, you can keep everything else. Now, meanwhile, President Trump is helping out a New York Met, and I'm not sure I agree with this decision, even though I am a huge, huge Mets fan. So President Donald Trump pardoned the 8-time Major League Baseball All-Star over the weekend because he claims he has turned to faith and turning his life around from drug and alcohol abuse that fueled arrests and suspensions. Strawberry posted on social media, "Thank you, President Donald Trump, for my full pardon, for finalizing this part of my life, allowing me to be truly free and clean from all my past." Now, my issue with this is that at what point does Darryl Strawberry actually learn? Darryl Strawberry has gotten out of trouble with the law multiple times. He's actually been in trouble with the law a lot. This is a guy who had drug issues, spousal, domestic violence issues. In fact, this is one of the things that my father still says he's really mad about. When I was a kid, who was my hero? Darryl Strawberry. I wanted to bat like Darryl Strawberry. I wanted to hit like Darryl Strawberry. You know who my other hero on the Mets was? Dwight Gooden. Pitcher, Dr. K. I want to be just like him. Who are the two guys who had the worst drug problems of the entire 1986 Mets team? A team that's drug problems were so bad they wrote a book about it called The Bad Guys Won. Darryl Strawberry, Doc Gooden. Those were the two. My father says I can never forgive them for being role models for my kids that then showed what bad role models they were, which he's 100% right. And I remember years later when David Wright was retiring from the Mets, I said to my kids, do you want to write a letter to David Wright to thank him for being such a good role model for you guys? Never had any scandal in his life, nothing like that. And plus, sometimes you get free autographs when you do that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is the thing, is that President Trump may have pardoned him. It's not my jam. I don't agree with this. I know he was on The Celebrity Apprentice or whatever else, but this is not something I'm full on with. There's still some things here. This guy has to pay his debt to society, and the question is, has he done it? Now, some of you may disagree with me and go, well, he found Jesus, he found Christ. I don't think that fixes some of this. If you say, well, it's because it was mostly crimes he did to himself with drugs, with sobriety, there's still fraud. He still defrauded people. He still defrauded the government. There's still crimes to pay for that. So I'm not sure I agree with this. I just not, but then I keep coming back to, well, Joe Biden pardoned his own kid for lots and lots of crimes and lots of other people too. Meanwhile, other scandals in baseball, and this one affects the Seattle Mariners. According to Como News, Cleveland Guardians pitcher Emmanuel Clace and Luis Ortiz have been indicted on charges they took bribes from sports bettors to throw certain types of pitches, including tossing balls in the dirt instead of strikes to ensure successful bets. According to the indictment, unsealed Sunday in federal court in Brooklyn, the highly paid hurlers took several $1,000s in payoffs to help two unnamed gamblers from their native Dominican Republic win at least $460,000 on in-game prop bets on the speed and outcome of certain pitches. Clace, the Guardians' former closer, and Ortiz, a starter, have been on non-disciplinary paid leave since July when Major League Baseball started investigating what it said was unusually high in-game betting activity when they pitched. Some of the games in question were in April, May, and June, and some of them were against the Seattle Mariners. Time out a second here. Time out. So now that we've legalized gambling for sports, I don't really see the problem. That's a problem I have right now. Look, I don't like what they did. I don't think we should be doing this, but you guys kind of set yourself up for this. Now that you've legalized all the sports betting, this is going to be a natural outcome of it. You know, if baseball said we're not going to do the betting, I'd understand it because of the scandal with the Chicago White Sox, with the World Series and all. But Major League Baseball doesn't want to give up on people paying attention to baseball. They don't want to give up on the revenue that comes from people paying attention to baseball, watching games, et cetera, especially if they're betting on them. Ortiz was arrested Sunday by the FBI at Boston Logan International Airport. He is expected to be in federal court. Clace was not in custody. Ortiz and Clace, quote, betrayed America's pastime, said the U.S. attorney. Integrity, honesty, and fair play are part of the DNA of professional sports. When corruption infiltrates that sport and brings disgrace not only to the participants, but damages the public trust in an institution that is vital and dear to all of us. The difference between them and Pete Rose bet on himself to win, which I'm a little bit more forgiving of. These guys were throwing pitches in the dirt. That's betting on yourself to lose. I don't like what Pete Rose did. I really don't like how Major League Baseball, once you say you ban the guy, keep bringing him back as a commentator for the playoffs of the World Series. I didn't like that. But at least what he did was betting on himself to win. This is betting on yourself to lose. I don't like this at all. Well, I guess this is one way we could watch baseball in the offseason, right? Darryl Strawberry getting pardoned, people getting arrested. This is like when they had all the performance-enhancing drugs hearings and you got to see all the baseball players in front of Congress. Yep, way to watch baseball in the offseason. Only good news to wrap up the show. Good news headlines put a smile on your face. Heading into your evening commute, you're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news headlines, we had a caller earlier in the show who didn't want to stick around to be on air, but said, Ari, what's the silver lining for Katie Wilson to win? And I realized I thought of another one, Mike. I thought of another one. We survived Kshama Sawant. We survived Lisa Herbold. We survived Tammy Morales. We'll survive Katie Wilson. The question is, what kind of shape is the city still going to be in afterwards? That's a problem. That is a huge, huge problem. Now it's up to all of us to call this kind of stuff out. If we're going to make Seattle the showcase disaster for the rest of the country about what socialism does, don't help it along, but make sure you call it out. So anytime you see a failure because of Mayor Katie Wilson's policies or the far left socialist Seattle City Council members' policies, send it to us, ari@kvi.com. Send it to us. We will do our absolute best to highlight every single story about this. Now, going back to baseball for a minute here, President Donald Trump has formally invited the Los Angeles Dodgers to the White House after they won their second consecutive championship on 2 weeks ago now, beating out the Blue Jays. Now, I'm happy about this. I've never cheered for the Dodgers my entire life. We're Mets fans, and I would probably be a Dodgers fan if they were still in Brooklyn. But they left, abandoning all of us. So the Dodgers beat the Blue Jays. Number one, I didn't want Canada to win because the Canadians would have had a field day with that. Oh, we beat you at your national pastime. We're not going to become the 51st state. But number two, the Blue Jays took out the Mariners. So I think we all wanted the Blue Jays to lose. So even if you're a lefty, I will say this. You should be happy when you see the Dodgers with President Trump at the White House. You really should. I mean, this is something that I think is actual good news. I really do. I'm kidding around a little bit, but I like this kind of stuff. You know what's great? Mike, I don't think I told you this. The day I went to the White House, the Eagles were there. The Eagles were there getting their win, right? They were there getting their World Series, the Super Bowl thing with President Trump. And one of the other radio guys, the me of Philadelphia, he, of course, took that invitation. He brought his son with him. Why did he bring his son with him? So that his son could get to meet the Eagles at the White House. So his son came with him, and he got to go to all the press tours. So, all right, here we go, guys. I have a very limited span here where the Mets have to win the World Series in the next 3 years. So that way I can meet the Mets at the White House with President Trump. The perfect synergy. Or the Mariners. I'll go for the Mariners, too. That'll be nice. I will be a bandwagon fan if it's the Mariners. I will do that. Mike, you can come with me. We'll have a good time. That'll be lots of fun, right? We'll do a request. We want to go that day. Why that day? Because the Mariners are going to be at the White House and we want to go that day? Yes, that'll be fun. So, Mariners, Mets, you guys have a very short window here. We don't know who's going to be the next president of the United States. You got to win in the next 3 years. Got to do it. So that way we can actually get that invitation to the White House to see the Mariners/Mets there with President Trump. Oh, that'll be glorious. By the way, it'll be even more fun if it's the Mets, not just because I'm a Mets fan, but because President Trump's a Mets fan. And I want to hear all his stories about his parents taking him in the Mets games and all that. I want to hear everything. I want to hear that frustrated Mets fan talk about what it's like to finally have them in the White House. I think that'll be absolutely, absolutely great. Meanwhile, switching gear, this headline's a problem. Okay. Oldest burger in the world. McDonald's Quarter Pounder allegedly turning 30 years old. Okay, here's the problem with this Como News, and we love you guys, but are you saying you have a burger that is turning 30 years old, or the fact that McDonald's introduced this item to their menu 30 years ago? It's an interesting phraseology there that you have. So let's see what the article actually says. A McDonald's Quarter Pounder, which is believed to be the oldest hamburger in the world, is allegedly set to celebrate its 30th birthday. Edward Nitz and Casey Dean, two men from Australia, reportedly bought the nicknamed the Senior Burger in November 1955. Nearly 3 decades later, they said it remains eerily intact. Now, I looked at the pictures of this, by the way. They have the fries and the bag to go with it. It's something. I mean, Mike, this looks like what happens to a fast food hamburger when you just leave it sitting out overnight. This kind of has me concerned about what they were putting in your hamburgers in the 1990s. What did you think when you saw this?
They don't call them preservatives for nothing.
I don't see any mold on the bun. I don't see any of that. It just looks like it's crusty. It looks crusty. This looks like it would be a soggy burger if you didn't know it was stale and crusty. That's what this looks like. So it shrunk a little bit. That's what they said. Nitz and Dean said they keep the burger its original wax paper wrapper. According to the media outlet, they said it has never been refrigerated, spent the majority of its life cycle stuffed in cupboards, garbage bags, and sheds. The men also said the burger hasn't grown mold, nor has it developed a foul smell. It's rotting meat. Well, is it? Is it now? He told the media outlet he was 14 years old when he acquired that burger. At the time, he and Nitz, along with Dean's sister and another friend, went to McDonald's, ordered some food at the drive-thru. After a few weeks, Nitz's mother urged him to toss the burger in the trash, but he decided to keep it. Slowly became a running joke until it was reluctantly accepted as part of the family. Oh, dear. Okay. Reach out to McDonald's for comment about this one. Well, my friends, that's going to do it for us today. But fear not, we will be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and let you know what it's like here in socialism land of Katie Wilson in Seattle. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.